What truly makes a person mentally strong in today's chaotic world? Is it discipline? Is it emotional control? Or, is it something deeper? Something that helps us not just survive, but thrive no matter what life throws at us. In this video, we're going to explore 7 timeless philosophy rules drawn from ancient Stoicism, powerful Buddhist teachings, and modern psychology that can help you build real mental strength. I'm not talking about the kind of strength that looks impressive on the outside but crumbles under pressure. I'm talking about inner strength, the kind that helps you stay calm in a storm, focused under pressure, and steady when everything around you feels uncertain. Let's face it, today's world is noisy, unpredictable, and often overwhelming. Whether you're dealing with work stress, family challenges, or just the non-stop demands of modern life, mental strength isn't optional anymore. It's essential. And the good news, you don't have to be born with it. You can build it. These 7 philosophy rules are like a toolkit, practical, proven, and ready for you to use starting today. So what's in it for you if you stick around and learn these rules? You'll discover how to boost your resilience so you can bounce back faster from setbacks. You'll learn strategies to manage your emotions so you don't feel hijacked by stress, anger, or fear. And you'll find ways to live with greater purpose so that anxiety and overwhelm don't control your days. And here's something to think about as we go on this journey together. What does mental strength mean to you? Is it the ability to stay calm during conflict, to make tough decisions without second-guessing, or to keep showing up even on the hard days? I encourage you to reflect on that, and as you listen, see which of these 7 rules resonates most with where you are right now. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest mental challenge you're facing these days? Is it stress at work, a difficult relationship, just staying focused in a distracted world? Share your thoughts because this is a community where we support and learn from each other. And if you're ready to build real inner strength, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on the deep, life-changing insights we share every week. These aren't just ideas, they're practical tools you can apply in your daily life to become stronger, clearer, and more at peace. All right, let's get started. Let's uncover the 7 philosophy rules that can help you become mentally unbreakable. Let's start with one of the most powerful, timeless rules for building true mental strength. Focus on what you can control. It sounds simple, right? But if you really think about it, this is one of the hardest and most life-changing habits to master. This rule comes straight from Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of people like Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, who ruled during plagues, wars, and political chaos. Imagine having the weight of the entire Roman Empire on your shoulders and still finding peace by reminding yourself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That's Stoicism in action. So what does this mean for us today? In our modern world with constant news updates, social media pressures, and the daily grind, it's so easy to waste energy on things far beyond our control. We stress over what people think of us. We replay arguments in our heads. We worry about future scenarios that may never even happen. And every time we do that, we give away a little bit of our mental strength. Here's where this rule comes in. Focus your energy where it makes a difference. You can't control how others see you, but you can control how you show up. You can't control the economy, but you can control how you manage your finances, your work ethic, your daily choices. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail your ship. Let's bring this to life with a simple example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague criticizes your idea in a meeting. Your first reaction. Maybe you feel embarrassed, angry, or frustrated. That's normal. But then the Stoic mindset kicks in. You pause, breathe, and ask, what part of this is within my control? You can't control their opinion. You can't change what they said, but you can control your response, staying calm, listening carefully, maybe even asking for clarification or offering a thoughtful reply. And just like that, you've turned a potential trigger into a moment of strength. Here's something to reflect on. How much of your mental energy is spent each day worrying about things outside your control? Be honest. Is it 10%? 50% more? And what might happen if you redirected even half of that energy into the things you can influence: your habits, your mindset, your effort? Now, this rule isn't about being passive or giving up. It's about focusing your power where it counts most. It's about building what I like to call mental efficiency. When you let go of the distractions, the judgments, the noise, the uncontrollables, you create space to think clearly, act wisely, and stay steady, no matter what life throws at you. And here's a little personal insight. This rule's changed my life. There was a time when I found myself constantly anxious about things I couldn't change, what others thought of me, outcomes I couldn't predict, situations I couldn't fix. The shift came when I started journaling every evening, asking myself, what did I waste energy on today? What could I have focused on instead? Over time, this small practice helped me reclaim my mental strength, and I believe it can do the same for you. Before we move on to the next rule, I want to challenge you today. When you face a stressful moment, stop and ask yourself, is this within my control? If it is, take action. If it isn't, let it go, or at least practice letting it go. That simple habit, repeated day after day, will build a level of mental strength that most people only dream of. Let's move on to rule number 2, and this one, I believe, is truly life-changing if you commit to it, even for just a few minutes a day. The rule is simple: practice daily mindfulness. Now, you've probably heard the term mindfulness before. It's everywhere these days in wellness apps, meditation classes, and even corporate leadership programs. But let's take a moment to really understand what it means, and more importantly, how it helps you build genuine mental strength. At its core, mindfulness comes from ancient Buddhist philosophy. It teaches us to live in the present moment, to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they arise without judgment, without trying to change or fix them in the moment. It's about seeing things as they are, not as we wish them to be. And in a world where our minds are constantly pulled in 100 directions by emails, notifications, news cycles, and endless to-do lists, that is powerful. Think about it. How often are you truly present? When was the last time you sat with your morning coffee and actually tasted it without scrolling your phone? When was the last time you listened? I mean, really listened to someone without planning what you'd say next. Mindfulness invites us to slow down, tune in, and reconnect with the only moment we truly have right now. But let's talk about why this matters for mental strength. When you're mindful, you start to notice the patterns of your mind. You see your stress building before it boils over. You recognize a wave of frustration or fear as it rises, and instead of being swept away by it, you can choose how to respond. That's where real strength lives, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your inner world. And here's something I personally love about this rule. It doesn't take hours of meditation or a trip to a retreat center. Just 5 minutes of mindful breathing before an important decision can change everything. Picture this. You're about to walk into a difficult meeting. Your heart's racing. Your thoughts are spinning. Instead of charging ahead on autopilot, you pause. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow, deep breath in. Feel the air filling your lungs. Exhale slowly. Do that again and again. After just 5 breaths, you're clearer, calmer, more focused. You're responding, not reacting. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, a busy executive, started practicing this simple habit: 5 minutes of mindful breathing before any high-stakes calls or presentation. At first it felt awkward, like how can a few breaths really make a difference? But over time he noticed he was less flustered under pressure, quicker to find solutions, and better at listening. That small practice became his secret weapon for mental resilience. So here's my question for you. Where in your day could you build in 5 minutes of mindfulness? Maybe it's right after you wake up, before a tough conversation, while waiting in line instead of checking your phone. Small moments done consistently create big changes. And remember, mindfulness isn't about perfection. Your mind will wander. That's okay. The practice is in noticing and gently bringing your focus back again and again. Over time, that builds the mental muscle of focus, clarity, and emotional balance. Before we move to the next rule, I want to encourage you, try this today. Just 5 mindful breaths. See what shifts. And if you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments, because your journey might inspire someone else to start theirs. Let's move to rule number 3, and I'll be honest with you, this one's not always easy, but it might just be the most powerful mindset shift you can make if you want to build real mental strength. The rule is simple: embrace discomfort as growth. This idea comes from Stoic philosophy, the same ancient wisdom that guided Roman emperors and warriors, and it's also supported by modern psychology. The Stoics believed that difficulty isn't something to fear or avoid. Instead, it's the training ground for your mind. It's the place where true strength is forged. Now let's think about that for a moment. How often do we go out of our way to avoid discomfort? We dodge hard conversations. We delay difficult decisions. We stay in our comfort zones not because it's where we thrive, but because it feels safe. But the truth is, every time we avoid discomfort, we miss a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine there's tension between you and a coworker. You know that sitting down to talk things through might be awkward, even painful, so you avoid it. Days go by, the tension grows, your stress level rises, and suddenly the problem feels even bigger. But what if instead you saw that discomfort as a signal not to run, but to lean in? What if you approached that conversation as an opportunity to build courage, clarity, and connection? The Stoics had a saying, "The obstacle is the way." In other words, the challenge in front of you isn't blocking your path, it is the path. And here's the thing, modern psychology backs this up. Research shows that people who voluntarily face challenges, who stretch themselves just beyond their comfort zones, build greater emotional resilience, confidence, and mental flexibility. Here's a question for you. What's one discomfort you've been avoiding lately? Maybe it's asking for feedback. Maybe it's starting that side project you've been dreaming about. Maybe it's setting boundaries in a relationship. Whatever it is, ask yourself, what could I gain if I face this instead of avoiding it? And let me share a bit of personal insight. A few years ago, I realized I had a habit of avoiding public speaking, even though I wanted to grow in my career. The idea of standing in front of a crowd made my heart race. But I decided to see every opportunity to speak as practice as training for my courage muscle. The first time was rough. The second time was a little better. And now, speaking is one of the most rewarding parts of what I do. Discomfort was the doorway to growth. I just had to walk through it. So how do you start applying this rule in your own life? Here's a simple practice. Each day, do one thing that stretches you slightly beyond what feels comfortable. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be making that phone call you've been putting off, saying no when you usually say yes, trying something new even if you're not sure you'll succeed. Every small act of courage builds up over time, like lifting weights for your mind. Before we move on, I want to challenge you. What's one small discomfort you can lean into today? Drop it in the comments, not just to share, but to commit. Because when you name it, you're one step closer to facing it. And that, my friend, is how you start building unshakable mental strength. Let's talk about something that quietly sabotages our peace-ruins relationships and keeps us stuck in emotional loops: the ego. Rule number 4 for building real mental strength is this: detach from ego. This idea is deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, which teaches that the ego, that voice inside that constantly needs to be right, to be admired, to be in control, is one of the main sources of our suffering. Now, let me be clear, having an ego isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's part of being human. The problem is when we let the ego drive the show, when we make decisions not based on what's true or right, but on how we want to be perceived. When we choose pride over peace, image over integrity. And here's where this gets really important. If you're serious about developing mental strength, you have to learn how to recognize your ego and step aside from it. Because when ego takes the lead, we get defensive, reactive, overly attached to our opinions, and often emotionally exhausted. But when we detach from ego, we create space for growth, connection, and true strength. Let me give you a real-life example. Have you ever found yourself in an argument where, deep down, you realized the other person had a point, but you still kept defending your side? Not because you were right, but because your pride didn't want to lose. That's ego. And in that moment, it's not logic or values guiding you, it's the fear of being wrong. Or how about this? You should apologize. Maybe you've hurt someone, or maybe it was just a misunderstanding, but something holds you back, a tight feeling in your chest, a stubborn voice saying they should apologize first. That's the ego too. And it doesn't care about healing or resolution, it just wants to win. Here's a powerful reframe from Buddhist thinking: your ego is not your identity, it's a tool. But like any tool, if you don't know how to use it properly, it starts using you. So how do we begin to detach? It starts with awareness. The next time you feel yourself getting defensive, ask, is this really about truth? Or is it about my image? That pause alone can shift everything. Then choose action based on your values, not your ego. Ask yourself, what's more important here, being right or being aligned with who I want to be? One of the strongest things you can do is choose peace over pride. Apologize when it's hard. Forgive even when you weren't asked to. Step back from the need to always be seen a certain way. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. And I want to be honest here. This isn't a one-time shift. Detaching from ego is a daily practice. It shows up in small moments: when you let someone else speak without interrupting, when you admit you don't know something, when you stop chasing approval and just do what feels right to your soul. Here's a simple challenge for you. Today, catch yourself once when your ego flares up and choose a different response. Maybe that means saying, "You're right. I hadn't thought of it that way," or "I'm sorry for how that came across," or even just taking a breath instead of reacting. And if you're willing, share your insight in the comments. What's one moment recently where you let ego get in the way, or where you successfully stepped away from it? No shame here, we're all practicing. When you learn to let go of ego, something beautiful happens. You stop needing to impress, control, or defend. You start living from a place of calm power, grounded, authentic, and free. That's the kind of strength the world needs more of. Let's move on to rule number 5. And in a world that glorifies hustle noise and non-stop productivity, this one might surprise you. But if you really want to build unshakable mental strength, you need to value simplicity. Now, this isn't just a trendy minimalism concept. This rule is grounded in Stoic philosophy and embraced by many spiritual traditions, from Buddhism to modern-day mindfulness. It's the idea that mental clarity and emotional strength don't come from having more, they come from needing less. Let that sink in. We live in a time where we're constantly bombarded: more notifications, more choices, more opinions, more distractions. But here's the paradox. The more we chase after everything, the more scattered and overwhelmed we feel. Simplicity isn't about owning nothing. It's about being owned by nothing. The Stoics believed that a simple life, one rooted in virtue and aligned with what truly matters, was the foundation for peace of mind. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, clarity and contentment aren't external achievements, they're internal disciplines. So how does this translate into your daily life? Let's break it down. Simplicity is about focus. It's about identifying what truly matters and letting go of the rest. That could mean simplifying your physical space, your mental space, or your emotional commitments. For example, take a look around your home or workspace. Are there things you're holding on to that you don't really need, or even like, but you keep just in case? Every item we own takes up mental real estate. Cluttered space, uncluttered mind. Now imagine how freeing it would feel to let go of just one drawer, one shelf, one corner that's been weighing you down. But it's not just about stuff. Mental simplicity is even more powerful. How many thoughts are running through your head right now that don't serve you? Worries about the past, overthinking the future, comparing yourself to others. Be honest how much of that is noise. And here's a tough one, emotional simplicity. Are you carrying relationships, grudges, or social obligations that no longer align with who you are? Simplifying your emotional life doesn't mean avoiding people. It means choosing quality over quantity, depth over drama. Here's a question to reflect on. What clutter, physical, mental, or emotional, could you let go of today, not next week? Not when you have more time, today. Let me share a quick story from someone I coached last year. She was a high-performing professional juggling career, family, personal development, and a packed social calendar. She came to me feeling completely burned out. So we started with one simple practice, identifying what wasn't essential. She began saying no to events she wasn't excited about. She deleted unused apps. She even simplified her wardrobe. Within weeks, she didn't just feel less stressed, she felt more herself. She said, "I thought I was losing things, but I was actually getting my peace back." Simplicity creates space, and space is where strength is built. When your life isn't jammed with distractions, you can hear yourself think. You can see more clearly what matters. And from that place, you can act with more intention, focus, and confidence. If you're not sure where to start, here's a tip. Create a short daily ritual of clearing 5 minutes to clear your desk. Close mental tabs or write down 3 things you're letting go of that day. Small action, big result. Before we move on, I want to leave you with this challenge. Pick one area of your life, physical, mental, or emotional, and simplify it today. Clear your inbox. Delete unused apps. Say no to something that doesn't feel aligned. Whatever it is, take one small step toward simplicity. And when you do, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and share what you chose to let go of. Because the truth is, strength isn't just built through pressure and grit. Sometimes it's built through clarity, through letting go, through choosing less so you can give more energy to what truly matters. Now let's talk about rule number 6. And I'll be honest, this one separates those who talk about mental strength from those who actually live it. The rule is simple, but it's powerful. Choose virtue over comfort. This principle lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught that every choice we make shapes our character. And while it's tempting to choose what's easy, what feels good, or what keeps us safe in the moment, true strength comes from choosing what's right. Even and especially when it's hard. Let's be real. How often do we take the easy road, even when we know deep down it's not aligned with our values? Maybe we stay silent when we should speak up. Maybe we break a promise because following through would be inconvenient. Maybe we bend the truth just a little to avoid conflict, or save face. But here's what the Stoics knew, and what modern psychology confirms. Every time you choose comfort over virtue, you chip away at your inner strength, and every time you choose virtue, no matter how small the act, you build it. Imagine a moment where telling the truth would make your life harder. Maybe it's admitting a mistake at work. Maybe it's having that honest conversation in a relationship. Your ego might whisper, just let it slide, keep the peace, no one will know. But your values, they remind you, do what's right. That's who you are. And when you listen to that voice, even when it costs you comfort, you walk away stronger. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine once turned down a lucrative business deal because it didn't align with his ethics. He could have made a lot of money, but the deal required cutting corners and hiding certain truths from clients. He said no. And yes, it stung at first, but years later he's built a reputation for integrity that's worth far more than any short-term gain. So how do we start applying this rule in everyday life? It begins with pausing at the moment of choice. When you're faced with a decision, big or small, ask yourself, am I choosing this because it's easy or because it's right? That pause gives you the power to align your actions with your values, not just your comfort zone. Here's an example you might relate to. Let's say a friend asks for help moving. It's the weekend, you're tired, you really don't want to go. Comfort says, make an excuse. Virtue says, I promised, I'll show up. When you choose virtue, you don't just help your friend. You reinforce your own identity as someone reliable, someone strong. And this applies to the small moments too, returning the extra change when a cashier makes a mistake, owning up to being late instead of blaming traffic, keeping your word, even when no one's watching. Here's something to reflect on. When was the last time you chose comfort over virtue? How did that feel afterward? And when was the last time you did the hard right thing, and how did that feel? I bet the second memory fills you with more pride and peace. Now, I want to be clear. This rule isn't about being perfect or becoming a martyr. It's about choosing as often as you can to let your values guide you, not just your desire for ease. The more you do that, the stronger and freer you'll feel inside, because virtue builds confidence. Comfort builds dependency. So here's a simple challenge for you. Today, notice one small decision where you're tempted by comfort and choose virtue instead. Maybe it's being honest in a tricky moment. Maybe it's following through on something you committed to even though it's inconvenient. And if you're up for it, share your story in the comments. Inspire someone else with your courage. Because at the end of the day, comfort fades, but virtue that stays with you, it shapes who you are and who you're becoming. And now we've arrived at rule number 7, one of the most underrated but powerful habits for building lasting mental strength. Reflect and journal. This isn't just a self-help trend. This practice is deeply rooted in both Stoic philosophy and modern psychology. The Stoics think Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, made journaling a daily ritual. His private writings, known today as meditations, weren't meant to impress anyone. They were his way of staying grounded, honest with himself, and aligned with his values. And guess what? Science backs this up. Studies show that regular journaling helps reduce anxiety, improve clarity, and build emotional resilience. So, why is journaling so powerful for mental strength? Because it gives you a moment to pause, to step back from the noise of daily life, to actually see your thoughts instead of just being carried away by them. It's like holding up a mirror to your mind, and the more clearly you see yourself, the stronger and wiser you can become. And here's the beautiful part. Journaling doesn't have to take a lot of time. Just a few minutes a day can change everything. Let me share a simple practice that blends Stoic reflection with modern psychology, something I use myself and often recommend to coaching clients. At the end of each day, write down the answers to these 3 questions. Today, what did I handle well? This isn't about ego, it's about acknowledging your wins, big or small. Maybe you stayed calm in a tough meeting. Maybe you showed patience with your kids. Maybe you simply kept your word to yourself. Noticing your strengths helps reinforce them. Where did I let emotion take over? We all have moments where frustration, fear, or stress gets the best of us. This question isn't for judgment, it's for learning. When you notice where emotion steered your choices, you can start steering back toward wisdom next time. What will I improve tomorrow? This is where growth happens. Each day becomes part of a continuous practice, not about perfection, but about progress. You set a small, clear intention for the next day, and over time, those small improvements stack up into something powerful. Let me give you a personal example. I started this journaling habit during a period of high-stress juggling work, family, and personal goals. I noticed that on the days I journaled, I went to bed clearer, calmer, and more focused. And over time, I started seeing patterns like how certain triggers always set me off, or how small shifts in my mindset made a big difference in my mood. The journal became my quiet teacher, my accountability partner, and my space to reset. Here's something to reflect on. When was the last time you paused to really check in with yourself? Not to scroll, not to distract, but to truly listen to your own mind. What might change if you made that a daily practice? And don't overthink it. Your journal doesn't have to be fancy. It can be a notebook, a phone app, a scrap of paper. What matters is that you show up for yourself in those few moments of honest reflection. Before we move on, here's my challenge for you tonight. Take 5 minutes and try answering those 3 questions. You don't have to share it with anyone, but if you do feel inspired, I'd love for you to drop a comment and let us know. What's one insight you gained from your reflection? Sharing your journey might just encourage someone else to begin theirs. Because at the end of the day, mental strength isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in small daily choices, like the choice to reflect, to learn, and to grow. So as we wrap up this journey together, let's take a moment to breathe, reflect, and really let these ideas sink in. We've explored 7 powerful philosophy rules drawn from ancient wisdom, modern psychology, and the lived experiences of people just like you and me. And here's the truth. These aren't just theories, they're practical tools you can reach for starting today to help you build mental toughness, sharpen your clarity, and create emotional balance in the middle of life's noise and demands. Think about it. When you choose to focus on what you can control, you free yourself from wasted energy. When you practice mindfulness, you create space between stimulus and response. When you embrace discomfort as growth, you step into your strength instead of shrinking from it. When you detach from ego, you build deeper connections and peace. When you value simplicity, you give yourself the gift of clarity. When you choose virtue over comfort, you become the kind of person you're proud of. And when you reflect and journal, you give yourself the chance to learn, grow, and course correct every single day. Each of these rules on its own is powerful, but together they form a foundation for living with intention, resilience, and peace, no matter what life throws at you. And the best part, you don't need to wait for a perfect moment. You don't need hours of free time or a dramatic life change. You can start right where you are, one thought, one breath, one choice at a time. Let me ask you, which of these 7 rules speaks to you most right now? Maybe it's the reminder to slow down and simplify. Maybe it's the courage to face discomfort. Or maybe it's that gentle nudge to check in with yourself through journaling. Whatever it is, I'd love for you to drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I read every one, and your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video gave you even one idea, one shift in perspective, or one small step you want to take, I invite you to stick around. Subscribe for weekly wisdom that helps you master your mind. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you won't miss out on the practical tools and ancient lessons we break down each week, designed to help you thrive in today's world. Because at the end of the day, mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. And together, we can keep growing stronger. Thank you for watching. And until next time, stay focused, stay kind, and stay strong.